Great, wonderful to see a nice big crowd here this evening. Welcome everybody to Sag Harbor, Canio's Books. You can see right behind me. So we are recording tonight's wonderful poetry event with Four-Way Books. Welcome everyone. We welcome you to put in the chat where you're joining us from. We've been Zooming like everybody else since March, and while we do have a little fatigue, we also love the ability to be able to invite people from around the country and around the globe for our events. And it's a great way to bring together folks tonight from both the West Coast and the different locations on the East Coast, and to have kind of like a cozy Zoom room. If you can see the store behind me, if you don't know the bookstore, it's 900 square feet, it's very intimate, and it's wonderful to actually gather together and hear great poets read. And so we hope to be able to do that before too long. But tonight, imagine that you're sitting in a chair, sort of shoulder to shoulder with someone else as you listen to these beautiful, beautiful works. So as I said, we're really thrilled to partner with Four-Way Books, and Clarissa Long is here from the press, and she's going to give us a little bit of a overview about the press. So Clarissa, it's all you.
Hi all, thanks so much for joining us today. It's so great how, amidst all of the really horrible things going on now, that we're able to be together in this virtual space. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much to Marianne and Catherine at Canio's Books. It's just so great to be able to celebrate the launch of these wonderful books and the wonderful authors with your store. So thank you so much. And I hope everyone, if you don't already have copies of Rodney, Andrea, and Angela's books, or you just need more, because who doesn't need more books, right? You purchase from Canio's. That'd be so great. And just a little bit about if you don't already know about us, we are based in New York City. And we publish 16 to 18 books a year, primarily poetry, but also some short fiction. And we're coming up on our 30th birthday very soon. Big deal. We're about that. Thank you. And we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Four-Way Books. Website is fourwaybooks.com. So you can read more about us and our wonderful authors and books. Thank you again so much for being here, and turn it back over to Canio's, to Mary.
Great. Thanks, Clarissa. Thank you so much. And welcome again, everyone. On behalf of Canio's Books, Catherine and myself, I'm joining you from the home office here. And for those of you who have not been to our bookshop, we just celebrated or are still celebrating our 40th anniversary of keeping Canio's Books going. Catherine and I have been with the bookshop for 20 years. And here's Giorgio to join our party. Any case, we do have a really rich poetry collection. So I hope poetry fans will seek us out for the books of the evening, as well as any other poetry books you might be looking for. And what can I tell you to look forward to? Just a little tiny plug. We do a big deal with the Moby Dick Marathon reading, and we're looking forward to hosting that this fall in September. So I hope you'll join our email list and check us out for lots of interesting events to come. So great. So we have 3 wonderful poets. We're going to go in alphabetical order here, and each poet will read for about 15 minutes. And so relax, settle in. We're in for a lovely evening. And I have the honor to welcome, first up will be Andrea Cohen. A little bit of background on Andrea for those who are just meeting Andrea and her work. Her poems and stories have appeared in The New Yorker, The Atlantic Monthly, Poetry, The Threepenny Review, Glimmer Train, the New Republic, the Hudson Review, and other publications. She has several collections with Four-Way Books, including the brand new one just out this year, Everything. In 2019, she published the collection Nightshade. In 2017, Unfathoming came out, and Furs Not Mine was published in 2015. Andrea directs the Blacksmith House Poetry Series in Cambridge. Andrea, we're very delighted to have you start us off tonight. So welcome, you have the floor, and let's go to poetry.
Okay, so thank you, Marianne and Catherine, and thanks so much to Clarissa and everybody at and Four-Way, and thank you all for being there in your various rooms. It's funny, I'm looking at one person's large empty space, and it looks like it's a loft for rent. I'll have to ask about that. But this is so I'm just going to read poems from this new book. Yeah, Lisa's back. Yeah, this is called Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball. Its offices are thin air. On days off, it still goes in. Wrecking balls are workaholics. They hang around up there. And even the idea of big sky crumbles. Desert Isle. If I have to go there, I'd like a phone book I can sit on a chair. I'd like to believe I'm a child someone comes back for. Unlike an audience of, I don't know, kindergartners or 30-year-olds, I think many of us recall sitting on phone books, maybe. Everything. Everything was beautiful and nothing hurt, Kurt Vonnegut said. Everything was beautiful and nothing hurt, the girl slurred to the artist at the tattoo parlor. The word made flesh isn't fictional. It's beautiful. It hurts. After. After the accident, we had the phrase, after the accident. Also this, before the accident. We had a drawer marked before and after. And after and before happenings, we'd add atrocities and incidents and the wild asters, someone before and after keeps leaving. The other person I should really thank is my dentist, because we all know how dangerous Valentine's Day is, and I bit into a Hershey's Kiss and half my front tooth broke off. And my dentist said, "Oh, it's not a big deal, is it?" I said, "Actually, it is." And he fixed it. So thank you, Dr. Stein. Yeah. Craft talk. I paint small birds. So when they fly off, their loss might seem like less. Fellow traveler. She went everywhere with an empty suitcase. You never know when you'll need to leave swiftly with nothing. Ring. To throw your hat in is to make yourself bareheaded, ready by oils to be anointed, or by arc hard rains of an instant, stricken. Self-portrait with the eraser. I drew the eraser first because I knew it better than I knew myself, and because it had been around the block before me, and because it would, after having its way with me, rub up against everything I'd ever loved. This one is a bit longer, which is to say it has more than 6 words in it. It's called 11. It's the 11th hour on the 11th floor. We chose this apartment, if not this hour, for the light, though my father could from any height look back. Below are oaks and magnolias and tracks on which freight and passenger trains pass, and my father knows the difference by the blowing of their horns, both of which he prefers, he says, to that other one he's hearing, by which he means Gabriel's, disguised as tinnitus. He's remembering also, since its fall, the shofar Herb Karp blew for the new year, a sorrowing sound, he always said, especially if you were a ram. That day we moved him from the split level to the 11th floor. We brought a few photographs and chairs, lamps to see the dark with, spoons, a cup. It was a kind of sky burial. He has his pocket comb. He has his wristwatch with the busted strap. He has his wallet with $1. He's getting smaller and smaller, his vast past vaster. Looking out from the 11th floor is like looking from a hole punched to make a room into a camera obscura. Anything can be a camera. Anyone might be in this area, but today it's us watching on the compact TV what he watched wrapped at the Imperial Theater in 1936. Buster Crabbe as Flash Gordon trying to stop the planet Mongo from colliding with Earth. I forget how it ends, my father says, but it ends. And then we're looking from the small screen out the sliding glass toward dusk, where below us on fluted Spanish roofs, 2 men in straw hats are ambling the inclines of tiles without ropes or harnesses, without fear. One man is tossing bottles of water to the other, who's smoking a cigarette and catching the bottles, and I'm thinking danger and OSHA and laborers in the vineyard. And my father, from his 11th hour, says, lucky devils. Rail. By the time we'd built the handrail, the hand had vanished. Yet still there was a sky to rail at. Shiva. Evenings we sit in the living room together. Friday, I take my mother's slot, noon, at the beauty salon. Ruth, who for 40 years washed her hair, washes mine. We're all in the desert together. Your mother liked the water cold, Ruth says. News to me. From 1,000 mouths are dead assembled. I had a great mom and I had a great dad. And they gave me some poems as well as pretty much everything else I've got. Yeah. This is called No Moon But. I knew it was the beekeeper who touched me, not because she tasted of honey, but because she was unafraid of being stung. Registry. They asked for what they'd need, 1 cup, and one plate. One day whose stunt double would be night, and two miner's lights for when each was lost to the other. Love. It's an extreme sport, like indoor beekeeping. First love. She was always leaving the dark on. Matinee. Performing love is what she said. It was the first time I'd heard this expression, and the first time is special. You want at first to bow or curtsy, to listen for applause, for the mercy of a curtain. With. It's a four-letter word when you're without. Shadow boxer's complaint. Shadows don't fight fair. Still trying to get down to the one-word poem. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm getting close. Let's see. Guide to becoming a human shield. Live near spears. Bearer. We raised the flag from half to full mast, and someone had to ask, what didn't happen? And I think I'm just going to read two more poems. This is called After the End. Listen, there were other ends, other reckonings. There were other one-size boots, one kick fits all. There were other dark days no night could mirror. Hear me out, if someone above the rubble can. This was written around 6 a.m. after a presidential election, which was not the one we just had, but I believe the one before that. And then I'll read one more poem and thank you all. This is called Bell. There was a bell that rang in my dreams. It was beautiful, and I was careful not to ring it too loudly, lest I wake. Thank you. Thanks.
Andrea, awesome, amazing,
Thank you.
aphoristic, beautiful work. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I wish you could have heard some of our responses, some of our laughter and awe as you were reading, but really appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. The work is stark and strong, and please save the chat because I think you'll want to see what people have said. So we're going to pivot now. And before I introduce Rodney, I just want to reinforce the fact that, first of all, poetry as a form is one of the highest that all writers try to aspire toward. And yet in our culture, it is unfortunately not given the due that it deserves, especially in our country and other countries. I believe it gets much higher acclaim. So that's in normal days. But now in pandemic days, when a writer, any writer, but particularly a poet comes out with a book, it's even more difficult for their work to get into the public. So I just really want to put that out there for everybody who's listening and encourage you to support these poets and the press by getting their book. And I'm going to drop in the chat how you can get it online, because we are with bookshop.org, which hopefully everybody already knows about. And it's just a wonderful new venture by Brooklynites to help very small bookstores around the country, especially now during pandemic days. So just want to put a shout out there for creativity in all forms, whether it's a website like bookshop.org or the poets that we have here this evening. So Rodney Terich, Terich, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Rodney Terich Leonard. Rodney was born in Nicksburg, Alabama. He's a veteran of the Air Force, and he served during the Gulf War. He holds a degree from the New School and New York University Tisch School of Arts, plus Teachers College, Columbia University. Rodney is a Callaloo Poetry Fellow, and he received his MFA in poetry from Columbia University, and he's joining us this evening from Manhattan. His society profiles and poems have appeared in numerous publications, including Southern Humanities Review, Red River Review, the Huffington Post, Bomb Magazine, Four-Way Review, the New York Times, Village Voice, and also for Colored Boys, which is an anthology edited by Keith Wakin. His debut collection of poetry is entitled Sweetgum Lightning, and we look forward to hearing from that. Let's please give a very warm Zoom welcome to Rodney Terich Leonard.
Thank you, guys. Well, good evening, everyone. I just want to say, first of all, to Catherine and Marianne, thank you for this kind invitation. And to Clarissa and all the good folk at Four-Way Books, thank you as well. And to all the guests, of course, Andrea and Angela, glad to be in your company. And welcome, everyone. I thought I'd start the reading, which is with a title poem. I don't know if you've seen the book, but but it's, there's a photograph and of my maternal great-grandmother and her granddaughter, who's my second cousin. So I'll start this evening reading this poem called Manners Tilt Country. And it's for Visca Martin Edwards, 1889 to 1978. In this house, manners tilt country. Fig preserves faint on biscuits. Stop looking down my throat. A child's chair, clear of grown talk. The patterns of two left feet, 6 and 7 year hands, cousins in the settled dust. Black ants circle American sweet gum, and lightning, plural of talk, loses its temper and gongs the jug's metal dipper. Grandma Visca, Emma, Maddie, and Queen Esther's mother, frocks pink and black bonnets, pulls heat and poison from wounds. Wonder why she morning rakes the front yard with cloth-tied brush brooms. I was very fortunate, because I got to meet my great-grandmother, for about 8 years. And she was the first person who uttered the word poet. She says, "Oh, you're a poet." And I said, oh, sure, Grandma, whatever that means. Like, can I have some tea cakes or something? But she planted that seed. I'm going to read another poem called Hula Hoop Children. This book really nods, to my origins, real and imagined. And I was a really awesome hula hooper. I mean, I could really work that hula hoop. I could do hula hoop too, but it was one of my favorite affordable childhood toys, hula hoop children. Thumb suckers and inside pant players spin through the air on merry-go-rounds, nip their affection for after-school television as if anesthetized by cotton candy. You know them. They chew boogers. Boy-to-boy pajama dreams. They come here switching khaki gestures of someone else's embarrassment. One Thanksgiving in 1978, I asked if I could marry a cousin. Asked in the company of dentures and frowns, amid mounds of meats and starches and sweets. Hell broke loose in a room full of what the F's. Potato salad on the pails and the floor, onions and gravy gone to waste. This is not good, I say. Who are these limber children mouthing for meat and mash season, whose spasms for drama are tulips and precise? Hula hoop children, argyle and polyester, platforms in rouge. Some Saturday they'll twist and purple their locks. I think I'll get a little long-winded. Maybe I will. I'm gonna save that for I have a cheat sheet. I'm gonna save that for later. I read another poem called, I went through a time when I would go to church on Sundays, up to Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem, and for the music mostly. And so I came to know, but I didn't really know this woman, and she would see me every Sunday, and she says, "Oh, how are you?" Like every Sunday, "Oh, how are you? How are you?" And in one of these Sundays, I said, I should really, really, really tell her how I'm feeling, what's kind of going on with me. And so this is kind of a response to that question, which I choose to believe was really sincere. Response to Miss Edie's every Sunday question, "How are you?" Fifth rum and slow piano shoe haints out of my head. Ever felt the curt masculinity of hurt latched onto your navel? You must be scorched hearing when times were toothsome as wild salmon in couscous, about a lone leaf skating Amsterdam's canals, the small hand of the clock, 7 p.m. each July, tucking under collars at the North Sea Jazz Festival, about lavender and peppermint tub soaps, and the auburn-creased refrigerator note, "We're us, whether loved or lonely." I was always a veteran warrior, wide within winter waters, Miss Edie, nibbling and gnawing on memory. Apartment 5C on 73rd and 5th, whistled mattress and Magnum, tuition and food again. Oh, wow. I was just really happy I finished that poem. Made me feel really, really good. I have a cheat sheet. There it is. I'm going to pivot music to music, thematic music. The music that learns us. I went through this W.G. Sebald marathon, reading all his books, and so it's really kind of splattered throughout the book discreetly. The music that learns us. Facing the blackboard, the teacher whistles a melody of marbled tenderness, entanglement, intrigue, or spook. Perhaps in retrospect, Monday thoughts of cared for cashmere, or the end bite of Sunday's sweet potato. It simmers and simmers, the music that learns us, the mamas and the papas, Queen Latifah singing California Dreamin'. The ear is nobody's fool. One of my favorite opera singers is Leontyne Price. Growing up in Alabama, you know, my grandmother would just comment on Leontyne Price when she would see her doing those United Negro College Fund commercials, and she was regal. And because we were t-shirt wearers in my family, people didn't wear gowns and that kind of stuff, but she was always so poised. And my grandmother would say, oh, well, you know, she was born with a rare kind of gold in her throat. I thought that was so, you know, I was like, Big Mama, do I have it? Do I have the kind of, do I have it in my throat? She's like, well, when you have it, you don't really have to ask if you have it. So you probably don't. But after September 11th, and I'm really thinking about nationhood now, how poems, you know, are such a balm for me and obviously for all of us. But after September 11th, Ms. Price came out of retirement to do this commemorative concert. It was Leontyne Price and Yo-Yo Ma. And I was fortunate enough to attend this concert at Carnegie Hall. This poem is called Septembers Ago, America Behaving. For Miss Leontyne Price. 19 days after 9/11, ulcers order and eat their breakfast. After rain and shards and hearses bossing the avenues, we wear purse, dark grayish blue. Michter's rye and Nova Scotia halibut are 86th at La Bernardin. Gluttony nipped and deboned. Where can I go without me is next week's question. Dr. Spivey and I aren't finished yet. I taxi home to a block that's nutmeg raw, West 132nd Street, to catch televised increased confusion, Giuliani's lisp. To ink or not the thumbs with pomegranate seeds, while Brokaw and Albright quick blink and quiver, American Airlines Flight 11, United Airlines Flight 175, American Airlines 77, United Airlines 93, Al-Qaeda, Pentagon, Shanksville, Taliban, war, the towers. La, 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 as opposed to night. We need somebody to sing us at least a song. Phones the woman of throat from Laurel, Mississippi. Mary Violet Leontyne Price, daughter of James Anthony and Katie Baker Price, a diva, gladly trapped in the butter of Il Trovatore's Leonora, Margaret Buns's This Little Light of Mine, Puccini's Visi d'Arte, and Samuel Barber's Despite and Still. Good old Juilliard, she once said. Wean from windowsill sunlight, wherever it is, Sunday fevers for perspective. This Manhattan day is no different. Stage curtain drawn Septembers ago, current of posture and gown and pearls and orchestra, present as 74 clasped Aidas. We needed her to sing us at least one song. I was sensitive enough to leave my era and not have it leave me. Miss Price is, God bless America, behaving. Oh, is that my 15 minutes? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You could talk on. We were just applauding that beautiful poem. I don't know if you have another one in you, but if
I
not,
do.
okay, please,
Yeah,
please.
I just didn't know how much time we had. Okay, sure.
No, please go on. Go on.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to read one called Daydream. Now, the title is taken from that Duke Ellington song. And there's a great line in it. He says, deep in a rosy glow. Daydream. I had this same daydream last year, whether we should go ahead and want this fire. We men are fast gum chewers when with ourselves, our tones notched down, and what we mute outright, we specify via text or a thumb on the shoulder, rotating. The gallop from elusive neighbor to slow need must have started with a tight beige tunic, the shorn facial and Caesar, and the day's newness to two things, Roach's Freedom Now Sweet and 21. Easy to see why hippie parents skip baby talk. Surely, I had the same daydream last August. His young woman in Paris and me with me, whether we should go ahead and want this fire, fever this urge with a splash of vetiver. Here again, we specify and pivot. The gallop must have nudged Wednesday's Randy, must have started with Abby Lincoln's vinyl holler. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, that was terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Rodney. Now we're going to pivot over to Marianne, who will introduce our next reader.
I will, and just a moment of gratitude and admiration, Rodney, for your reading. If this is your debut collection with the press, they better publish more and more and more of your collections. So make a note, Four-Way. That was just a really, really powerful reading. I love the title poem, and so nice to have you in the program and to be introduced to your work. We do look forward to more to come. Not to shortchange the present volume, we'll enjoy that. So yes, with fullness of poetry, we'll move next to our third reader, Angela Narciso Torres. And we're welcoming Angela, who's joining from Southern California this evening. So a few words of background about Angela. She is the author of Blood Orange, which won the Willow Books Literature Prize for Poetry in 2013. Other collections include To the Bone, came out from Sundress Publications in 2020. And What Happens Is Neither, published again just this year from Four-Way Books. Angela's recent work appears in Poetry, Missouri Review, and Quarterly West. She's a graduate of the Warren Wilson MFA program for writers and the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Angela has received fellowships from Bread Loaf Writers Conference, from the Illinois Arts Council, and the Ragdale Foundation. In 2019, she won the Yates Poetry Prize and was named one of New City Lit's Lit 50 Who Really Books in Chicago in 2016. Angela was born in Brooklyn, raised in Manila, and serves as senior and reviews editor for Rhino Poetry. We're very much looking forward to hearing you, Angela, and welcome, Angela, to our Zoom Spotlight.
Thank you so much, Marianne, and thank you, Catherine and Canio's Books for hosting us so graciously today. My only regret is we can't be reading in front of that whole entire wall devoted to poetry that you spoke of earlier. I mean, that sounds like heaven to me, but we're just so grateful to have this venue. I mean, launching a book during a pandemic, as you know, is a Herculean task, and it's bookstores like you, it's people like you who support and do so much for authors trying to launch a book during these times that really make it feel like, you know, we're still out there and able to reach people despite our being locked down. I'd like to, of course, thank Four Way Books. I'd be remiss not to thank Martha Rhodes, Clarissa Long, and Ryan Murphy, and all the good people at this wonderful press for the incredible work they do for their authors, for writers of color, for the poetry community at large. It's been a dream press for me from beginning to end. It's always been a dream. And I'm just so grateful that they've made this dream come true for us today. I want to thank my co-readers, Rodney and Andrea, for their phenomenal readings tonight. I now regret my agreeing to be the last reader. I mean, how does one follow that? But I'll do my best. Andrea, your sparse, laser sharp poems just went straight to the heart. And Rodney, just your musicality and your rich lines, your lush imagery just made me smile and cry in the same breath. It's like just amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we do indeed need somebody to sing at least a song. So I'm joining you from Oceanside, California, where it's 60 degrees and sunny, but it's not that way for everyone in the country today. As we know, a large swath of the country is in freezing temperatures and some without power and water. So my first poem is dedicated to all those who might need a little warmth and light today. I lived in Chicago for 10 years, so I know how harsh winters can be like. And I was also born in Brooklyn. So yeah, I'm aware of what winters can be, and I'm just lucky that it's warm here today. But this poem I wrote while I was living in Chicago, and it's called Warm Spell February. For the first time in weeks, the wind doesn't cut like an insult. My dog feels it too. I slacken her leash so she can dig her nose in the wet underbrush, letting her sniff as long as she likes. A woman walking on a San Francisco beach once told me, "We need to give them time," meaning the dog, snout deep in tangled seaweed. To them, it's like reading a good book. Somewhere I read that Murakami trained for marathons the way he writes, pushing his legs to the next mile like he pushed his pen to the end of one sentence and then the next. Today, I'm in no rush. I tread slowly, sipping the air the way the Pacific Ocean swallowed our brown bodies just outside Manila, our mothers waving us back to steamed rice, fried fish, mango on a stick. Why do I remember? Would I think of this now if the air weren't soft with last night's showers, warm as a mother's breast? Would I dare to say the twigs are chandeliered with rain like pearls from a girl's ear? I breathe. For the first time in weeks, I'm returned to my skin. So I grew up in Manila, a very, very warm, humid place. And I grew up among matriarchs who knew everything, just everything. And this poem evokes the folk wisdom that they passed down through generations to us children and on, that both terrified and fascinated me, but also my ancestors passed on to us. And I wrote a poem about it, and it's called If You Go to Bed Hungry. If you go to bed hungry, your soul will get up and steal cold rice from the pot. Stop playing with fire before the moon rises, or you'll pee in your sleep. Sweeping the floor after dark sweeps wealth and good fortune out the door. Fork dropped, a gentleman will visit. Spoon, a bashful lady. Bathing after you've cooked over a hot stove makes the veins swell. For safe passage to the guest who leaves mid-meal, turn your plate. The adage goes, coffee stunts growth. 12 grapes in New Year's, the opposite. Advice from the learned, book under your pillow. Never step on, never drop. Every rice grain that remains on your plate, you'll meet again on the footpath to heaven. You'll have to stoop to pick up each one. So the next poem is a golden shovel, which many of you might know is a form invented by the poet Terence Hayes. It uses a line from another poem, usually in tribute. And each word of that borrowed line becomes the end word then of each of the lines in the new poem. So if you read down the right-hand margin, you'll see the borrowed line in its entirety. This poem borrows a line from Yeats. It's from his poem, The Circus Animal's Desertion, and the line is the foul rag and bone shop of the heart. I'm not just talking about the sleepless days and nights, the nonstop nursing, the foul smelling diapers. I'm talking about how my body reeked, a soaked rag of curdled milk, drool, and leaky nappies. And how I'd wake already beat beyond blood, bone, and breath, the babe still at my breast. But when I pushed past a shop window the other day, I turned to do a double take, a glimmer of a woman I once knew. No, it wasn't just the wind-tossed hair, the morning weary face, but oh, the heart, the heart. So being February, the month of love, and just a few days from Valentine's Day, I thought I'd read this love poem I wrote ostensibly for my dog. And if you have seen pictures of my dog, if you're on Facebook, she's more popular than I am. The title of this poem comes from a Spanish film called Amores Perros. Amores Perros. Sometimes I love you the way my dog loves her all beef chew bone, worrying the knuckled corners from every angle, mandibles working like pistons. Her eyes glaze over with a faraway look that says she won't quit till she reaches the soft marrow. Her paws prop the bone upright. It slips. She can't clutch it tight enough, bite hard enough. A dog's paws weren't meant for gripping. And sometimes I love you the way my dog brushes her flank nonchalant against my legs, then flops on the floor beside me while I read or watch TV. Her heft warms. One of us is hungry. The other needs to pee, but we sit, content as wildflowers. Minutes pass, hours. So when the opportunity came to submit my manuscript to Four-Way Books, it was actually at a really dark time in my life. I had just lost both parents the month before, and 11 days apart. And if not for the prodding of a dear friend, this book may have never come into fruition. She's here tonight, and I'm not going to call her out, but she was definitely instrumental in helping me climb out of that grief to pull this manuscript together. And it's really what kept me afloat those days. There's a Buddhist saying that goes, we age not in years, but in loss. And when I think about the past 2 years, it makes me really happy because then compared to my physical age, my age is much, much older than in Buddhist years, if it's through loss. And so it makes me feel really young, like I'm a baby again, maybe. My father loved Beethoven, and this next poem is dedicated to him. He carried this bust all the way from Brooklyn, where I was born, back to the Philippines, where he raised me. And he Loved the symphonies. They were the backdrop of our childhood. And he had this on his desk in every house that we've lived in as a family, and it's now on my desk. And I see it as a kind of a talisman of sorts, because it reminds me of the passion and the dedication that we need to cultivate as artists and as makers. And it's also kind of like my dad watching over my shoulder when I read, when I write. So this next poem I will read is, I call it a semi-cento. When I was writing these poems after I lost my parents, I seemed to be running out of some words to express the grief, and I started borrowing from other sources. So this poem has alternating lines of my lines and lines from a book by Witold Rybczynski. Hope I said that right. And the book is Home, A Short History of an Idea. So when I read the lines that are borrowed, I'll raise my two fingers so you'll know which lines I'm quoting from the book. In the dream, I return home. I enter my father's room. He leans over his worn table of notes and pillboxes. Personal possessions, a chair, a desk, a place to write. Nothing much has changed in over 400 years. In the mirror, I watch my mother pinning her dark curls above an assortment of brushes, powders, and creams. Fanny Price had a room where she could go after anything unpleasant below. I wear my mother's rings. I bake the meatloaf she mixed with bare hands. Minced onions sting my eyes. To speak of domesticity is to describe a set of felt emotions, not a single attribute. Smell of lightning, rotting wood. In one corner, an overstuffed chair I read in as a child. The appearance of intimacy in the home was the result of another change taking place in the family, the presence of children. The living room empty, except for the piano with a broken string. Minimal decor has been facetiously described as conspicuous austerity. Opening doors, I search for my father's watch. Behind one door, his back is turned. This room I do not recognize. People turn to the past because they are looking for something they cannot find in the present. From a hole in the ceiling, purple wires root where a chandelier once hung. Okay, I think I'll end with the title poem of the book, What Happens Is Neither. I just want to again reiterate my thanks to the bookstore and to 4A Books and to all of you for joining us tonight. And to my co-readers, of course, who are now my pressmates and who, it's also my first time hearing you both read, and it's been such a wonderful, inspiring, and edifying evening because of your words. So, title poem, What Happens Is Neither. It's also the first line of the poem, so I'll just read through it. What happens is neither the end nor the beginning. Yet we're wired to look for signs. Consider the peonies. One makes a perfect bud after months of nothing. Another's leaves are ringed with black rot. How can I not think end? How can I not say beginning? Leaves fall when days shorten because a tree must reduce to its tough parts, twig, branch, bark. My mother sleeps away the daylight. She nods off while chewing a spoonful of fish and rice. Her head a peony gone to seed. Father calls to say she doesn't recognize him. Turning to him, she cried out, certain a stranger was in her bed. He played his violin till she slept, a leaf in late fall curling into itself. In autumn, chlorophyll disappears, canceling green from leaves, so yellow and magenta can blaze. In my mirror, I see her, the smile that favors a cheek, eyes slanting in the shape of small fish we eat for breakfast. Trees know best the now of things. What goes on has been going on for centuries. Washing dishes, I rest a foot on my standing leg. A fork clangs on the tile. I rinse a cracked cup. I try not to think of endings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela. That was really beautiful, strong. Appreciate your poise as well, dealing with those poetry slammers. The hell with them. We have the real deal here with the three of you. In poetry, when it's done well, as you all do, it expresses such strong emotions, and in such different ways. Each of you have your own unique voice, which you brought to us tonight to enrich us. So we really appreciate that. Marianne, I don't know if you want to say anything. I'm sure that you probably do. And also Clarissa, I'm going to also drop in the chat just information about 2 upcoming events, including one tomorrow. We're partnering with the library and a local community house to do an African-American read, and everybody's welcome to join us on Zoom for that. But again, just really thank the 3 of you for being with us this evening.
Yeah, really 3 cheers. And I'm so delighted to be introduced to your work and add your work to our collection at Canio's. Andrea Cohen, Rodney Terich Leonard, Angela Narciso Torres. What a really powerful evening. Each of you as poets bring your strengths and your different voices, but I've found each one of you really taking on subjects that are not easy to take on, and you look at them just straight on, directly, with fierce poetry in your heart. And we're grateful to be meeting Clarissa Long as well, and perhaps this will be one of some other collaborations with 4-Way Press. Clarissa, if you have any thoughts you'd like to say to bring us out, I'll give you a moment too, please.
Yeah, thank you all so much. This was such a wonderful evening. It was wonderful to hear all these readings, and we would love to do more with Canio's books. You're a wonderful store, wonderful people, and you are excellent hosts. So we'd love to keep up the partnership. So thank you all again, and we hope you'll stay in touch with Canio's and 4-Way. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you all. Thanks, poets. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thanks everybody. Angela, Rodney, Andrea, you guys are great. Really, keep writing. We need you poets. You're the prophets of the world.
Be well, be safe, be well read, and come visit us when you can. We'd love to welcome you.
Love that.
Yeah, I lived in San Diego. Oceanside is lovely.
It is. Thank you so much. This was great.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for persevering. Hope to see you guys.
Good night, Rodney, Andrea, Clarissa, Angela, and everybody else who's out there.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay. Have a lovely evening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.